Hi, I'm Susan Rutledge, and in this video I'm going to show you how I added this grunge noise effect to my artwork in Adobe Illustrator. I'm working on a logo for a Mother's Day t-shirt for my Etsy shop, and I wanted to add this special effect because it's so popular right now. So here we are in a document where I've already set the design up, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. First, I need to prepare the design to receive the grunge, and I'll only be adding it to the large mammy text and this block with text on it at the bottom. The script text is so narrow, I'm concerned if I add the grunge to it, it won't show up well on the t-shirt. So all I'm going to do here is select it, and we're going to create outlines with that. And then I'll move to the layers panel, and I'm going to lock that layer. So what I'll do is click in this column to place a lock here, and now it won't be affected by anything I do on the artboard. Now I'll move back to the properties panel, and for Mammy, we want to convert this to outlines as well. So again, I'll come over to the properties panel, click create outlines, and the same with the text here in the bottom, create outlines. Now I want to actually cut the letters out of this rectangle because I want the color of the t-shirt to show through there. So I'll select both the letters and the rectangle. I'll come over to the properties panel. In the Pathfinder area, I'm going to choose the second icon, which is click to minus front. And when I click here, Illustrator cuts the letters out of the rectangle. Now, before we can add the grunge, we've got to convert the design to a compound path. So I'll select Mammy and select the rectangle with that writing. Come up to Object, down to Compound Path, and choose Make. Now, unfortunately, when you place different colored items together in a compound path, Illustrator converts them to all be one color. So we'll have to come back and fix that at the end of this project. Now I'm going to get the grunge file that I purchased online. So I'll come up to File, down to Place, and let's come to Desktop, and here's the texture that I want. Now you can buy grunge and noise textures. You can also find a lot of them free online. Just type in grunge or noise textures in a search engine and you'll have lots of different options. I'm going to choose Place, and Illustrator places that grunge layer on my cursor. And I'm going to just start dragging from above the left side of the design, and I'm going to drag down to the bottom of the design here. Now, it's not going to cover the entire design, but we'll work on this, and then we'll get it to cover it in just a minute. So I'll release my mouse, and here is my noise layer. And there are several things that I've got to do to the noise layer before I can use it. If I was going to leave it black, I wouldn't have as many steps to take, but I want to actually take the speckles out of the color of the design so that you see the color of the t-shirt coming through. The first thing I'm going to do is trace the image. Now I can find image trace in 3 different places on my workspace. The first one is in the properties panel in the quick actions area. So I could click here, or I could come up to Object, down to Image Trace, and choose Make. But I'm going to use the image trace that's on the control bar at the top of my workspace. Now, if you don't have this bar turned on, you can go to Window and click on Control, and then you'll find Image Trace. Now, as soon as I click Image Trace, I'm going to have a little icon here, and this is the Image Trace panel. So I'll click to open that, and we're going to make some changes. The first thing we want to make sure is we have black and white selected for the mode. There's a pull-down menu, and you'll find it here if it's not already selected in your panel. Then I'm going to increase the threshold, And you can use the little slider, or I like to put this at about 175. You don't want it to go all the way up, or your design's going to be completely black. And then you may have to click this little arrow here if you're not seeing a lot of other options to open up advanced. And with the paths, I'm going to increase that to 75%. I'm going to leave corners at 75%, and I'm going to reduce the noise to 10 pixels. And you can play around with these various settings to get the results you want. We have fills checked. I don't have any strokes here in this noise. And then we're going to come down to ignore color. Because notice that when we did the image trace, Illustrator converted the space around the noise to white, and we can't see the design through that. So we've got to click ignore color, and Illustrator very wisely chooses white. And so it's now removed that white. If there was a different color that you wanted Illustrator to ignore, all you need to do is get the color picker, click down on it, and then come over to the artboard and click on whatever color you want to ignore. But most of the time, it's probably going to be white. After you have these settings changed, then you simply press expand, and that part is taken care of. So we'll close this out. Now, just like we made the back design a compound path, I have to do the same thing for this grunge layer. So with it still selected, I'll go up to Object, down to Compound Path, and click Make. Then I'm ready to copy this layer so that we cover the rest of the design. So I'll grab hold of it and hold the Option key down as I drag out a copy. And I'll hold the Shift key down because I want it to drag in a horizontal line until these two pieces meet. And then I'm going to duplicate that move again. This time I'm just going to use the duplicate keyboard shortcut, which is Command D. And we'll do that one more time. Command D. Now you can look to see if you want to move these pieces around. Just be careful to not move your actual design. Then if you decide you want the grunge to be a little heavier, you can come back and select each one of these layers. Now make sure you don't get your design. I'll hold the Shift key down so I can select several at the same time. And then I'm going to come over to the Properties panel, and I'm going to add a 1-point black stroke to the outside of each of these little speckles. And you can make it as thick as you want. I'd start out with 1 point, and if you decide you want more, you can come back and redo it again. But the other thing you must do if you add this stroke is to come back and expand the grunge noise. So I'll come up to Object and choose Expand, and make sure Fill and Stroke are selected and say OK. Then I will select all of the layers and come back over to the Pathfinder area, click on this second icon, the click to minus front, and it'll take just a couple of seconds here. And then let me click on the artboard to deselect that, and you can see that we have a really nice layer of grunge that's been taken out of the actual blue design of the letters. Then the last thing I'll do is come back and change to the original colors of the design, and I'm going to use the lasso tool, keyboard shortcut Q, because that's going to make sure that I get every little piece on these letters. So we'll drag around the M and change this to green, then drag around the A and make this pink. This M is going to be gold. I'll leave this M blue and come back and grab this Y here and change it to pink. And then I'll get the selection tool to deselect everything, and this is our final design. Now, let me just add a background color to show you how cool this really looks. I love the way this turned out, and I think it's going to look great on a t-shirt. You can add almost any kind of an open texture or noise to your art projects because the process is going to be the same for any of these. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned some things about adding noise and grunge to your art projects in Adobe Illustrator. Now, before I go, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel and remember to click the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future tutorials, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.